What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of According to the Content. Again, as always, appreciate you guys for still rocking with me and rocking with the content, man. With that being said, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And we are going to get right into it. All right. So I know I'm late with this video, but this is just a quick my thoughts kind of video on um, week 5 overall of the Diddy trial. It's week 4 of testimony, but week 5 overall if you count the jury selection, which I do. So again, this is just a couple things that stood out to me, just my opinion, my thoughts. Again, coverage of the trial. There is no shortage of it. Again, this is not the channel or the video for that. Again, this is just some quick thoughts that I have on what happened last week. Again, I know I'm late with this video, but life has been lifing. So but anyway, nonetheless, we'll get right into it. All right. So one quick thing that stood out to me last week, the whole entire balcony story. Now, this story came from a witness who testified last week by the name of Brianna. I have trouble pronouncing her last name, Brianna Bongolin or Bongolin, however you pronounce it. But anyway, she was one of Cassie's good friends, and um, she testified that one of the most horrific things that Diddy had did to her physically was that he picked her up and held her over a balcony and basically threatened her life. And then after he held her over the balcony for a few seconds, he then m- moved her from over the balcony and threw her down on the balcony and into some furniture, and she ended up suffering like a small puncture wound, and they actually showed the pictures in court of the small wound, and it was bleeding. It's pretty nasty, but that's what she said that happened. Now, here's where it got interesting. The story sounded great. She gave a lot of detail. She talked about how she feared for her life, et cetera, et cetera. She also talked about how Cassie was a witness to it. And this story was also in Cassie's original civil suit that she filed against Diddy back in November of 2023, that kind of just basically kicked off all these legal proceedings against Diddy. And she come to find out, you find out that Brianna, not only did she, on a cross examination, you find out that not only did she meet with the feds and prosecutors around 27 times to get her story straight, but then you find out that the date that she was adamant about that this alleged incident happened, we found out on a cross examination that it did not happen on that particular date. Now, I believe the date that she said that it happened on was September 26th of 2016. Well, on the cross examination, Diddy's defense team brilliantly um, showed that that couldn't have been the case because Brianna's apartment was in Los Angeles, California. Well, during that time period that she said the incident allegedly happened, Diddy was across the country in the New York City area on the Bad Boy reunion tour with Cassie as well, and they were able to produce receipts, hotel receipts showing a reservation in Frank Black's name, which everyone knows by now is his alias for when he booked hotels. And they also produced receipts for various charges such as room service. And then they also showed that he stayed at the Trump hotel in New York for a total of 5 days. And September 26th was one of those days that he was staying in the hotel and that there is proof. So, you can always say, well, the the incident happened 8 or 9 years ago. She was on a lot of drugs, and maybe she just got the date wrong, but the incident definitely did happen. Well, the problem with that is that she met with the prosecutors 27 times, which means she walked through her story dozens of times with the prosecutors and was adamant about that particular date. She got up on the stand and was adamant that this incident happened on that particular date. And the feds, with all their unlimited resources, it seems like they would have known that this incident could not have occurred on the date that she said it did, because if Diddy's team were able to get the receipts and show that he was in another state across the country at that time, I'm sure the feds could have easily gotten that information as well. And so it appears that they put someone on the stand who they knew was blatantly lying and very adamant about the dates that an alleged physical altercation where her life was in danger occurred. So, that basically just shot, in my eyes, her credibility is shot. Yes, the incident may have happened, but maybe it didn't. Who's to say that she did not do that to herself? Because again, she admitted on the stand that she had was on a lot of drugs during that time and had done a lot of drugs during that time. People who are on drugs, she could have been on a bender. She could have had one of those days where she um, injured herself and tried to blame it on Diddy. But again, we don't know. So that was one thing that really stuck out to me last week. And then the second thing that stood out to me was, of course, the big mystery of Jane Doe. Who is she? What was she going to testify about? Now, in full disclosure, everybody knew pretty much within the first 10, 15 minutes of Jane Doe's testimony just by reading the transcripts. Everybody knows who she is. I'm obviously not going to disclose her identity. I'm not trying to get in trouble. Don't even know if I can get in trouble for that, but still, not going to say who it is. But everybody knows. But um, she is the woman who basically had a relationship with Diddy from around. She met him in 2020, began a relationship in 2021, and it still continued pretty much up until the night he was arrested. And she testified starting Thursday afternoon of last week, and it went through all day Friday. And honestly, there was nothing special about her testimony. In my eyes, her testimony kind of solidified and did more good for Diddy than it did bad, because she talked about doing the freak offs and it being consensual, and her not minding doing them for the most part because she wanted to please him. This is what he wanted. This is what he liked. She wanted nothing more than to please him and to be, his only woman. So, and she did what what most women do. She did what she had to do in order to please her man. She also testified that one time to make it up for him, she set up an all-star freak off where the top three guys that she had been with when she was with him during these freak offs, she basically agreed to set up an all-star freak off and basically, freak off with those three guys in one night, which is crazy. So, you know, again, I don't see how her testimony was supposed to hurt Diddy. To me, it helped him. But again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a prosecutor. So, we'll see how things turn out. But again, those are the two biggest things that stuck out to me during the trial last week. Just some quick thoughts before I close this video out. Um, Pretty much every week, I would say my thoughts kind of change a little bit, but for the most part, I'm still sticking by that. So far, it's still looking good for Diddy. Um, the cross examinations that his lawyers are doing are really great, top notch. They're catching a lot of the witnesses and victims, not only in lies, but they are also, destroying their credibility. And for me, if I'm a juror, so far, with just the things that he's charged with, it would be hard for me to convict him and say that he's guilty, because I'm not really seeing that the feds are proving their case, beyond a reasonable doubt. I can see the connection. The connections are there. I'm not going to lie about that, but there's just not enough meat on the bones. If you say that this guy was, running an illegal enterprise and a racketeering for over 10 years, as they allege in the indictment, and had all these people covering up all his crimes and things like that. Again, I'm just not seeing strong enough evidence to to warrant a conviction on the charges that he's being that he was charged with. Now here's where Diddy is also facing an uphill battle on two fronts. You have a lot of witnesses, and you also have three victims that have testified so far. So it's going to be human nature to say like, well, even if even as they're being proven to be liars or their credibility is being destroyed on a cross examination, when you have more than a dozen people, victims and witnesses testify against you saying, they saw this, they heard that, they, you know, experienced this, that, and the third, as natural human emotion think, well, even though your credibility is shot, all 20 people who got on the stand against you can't be lying. So that's going to be one uphill battle um, that he's facing uh, with this. And then the other uphill battle that he's going to be facing with this is, what do the feds have in store? Because they're getting ready, probably, if not at the end of this week, probably mid next week. They're getting ready to wrap up their case. Um, and I'm still waiting for the feds' hammer to drop, so to speak. And I have a feeling that after Jane Doe is crossed, the next witness or the next victim that they bring up is supposed to be the one that's supposed to be the nail in the coffin for Diddy, but we have not seen it yet. So something to look out for. But anyway, that's the end of this video. Again, I want to thank you guys for continuing to check out the content. And let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. I'm interested. How's the trial going in your eyes? Is Diddy up? Is he down? Is it looking good? Is it looking bad? Are the feds making their case? Are they not making their case? Let me know in the comments, man. Anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I will catch you next time with the next video and according to the content. Peace.